It's one of those things that like people always have something to complain about. I mean, well, we can use Star Wars as an example. Like
Never saw it.
I was not a big fan. Well, you're hurting
Never,
me.
s- never saw it.
Well, just the way that Shabo freaked out about me not seeing Endgame that came out like 3 years ago, but you haven't seen a Star Wars. And he's silent. I know where my friends lie now.
All right, y'all. I think I watched up to episode 4 of Squid Game.
Oh, let's
All right.
go.
All right, good.
I like it a lot. I like it a lot.
That means
All
you
right.
didn't get to the Marble episode yet, though, and that was the one I really wanted to talk about. But we can come back to that.
Yeah, Chris and I were talking. I think that we'll do some non-spoiler talk today, or mild spoilers, like not plot spoilers.
I want to hear all your answers. What would be your Squid Game? How would you turn your childhood game into a death league?
Oh, I don't know. Okay. I'll have to
Can
think
you
about that.
roll with that, Chris? Come on, first thing that comes into mind.
I know. Well, the first thing that came to my mind was hopscotch, which is definitely not a reasonable answer, I don't think, because that
No,
It's already in the show.
hopscotch was in the show.
I don't want to spoil it for Nikki, but I would say the second to last challenge. I think
No,
it's kind of based off of it because they're all childhood games. How could you possibly say that's a childhood game unless you say, well, it's kind of like hopscotch.
I think hopscotch would be a really good one, Chris. Because, like, just imagine you're like maybe hopscotching on like tiny pillars over water, and then there's fire cannons blowing at you.
I'd almost definitely die from that one. I mean, all right, we probably shouldn't talk more about this one, Devin, because I don't want to spoil it for Nikki. But I didn't like that one. That's all I wanted to say on that.
I know that one was bullshit. Yeah, I want to talk about that one in spoiler talk next week because I think it kind of hurts the thesis of the show a bit.
Devin, tell me what you would make up for a game.
Okay, the one that came first to mind, like the game that I played the most as a kid at camp, was wall ball.
Oh.
But the rules of wall ball are if you just avoid the ball, I mean, you can pretty much win, get to the final. Like you just don't even try.
Is that like Spud?
Yeah, so like if you throw the ball, then you have to, and it doesn't hit the wall, like it hits the ground first.
Oh, okay.
Then someone else can pick it up and throw it against the wall, but you can run to the wall and tag the wall.
Yeah,
First.
yeah. Oh, I
If
forgot about that game. That game is so good.
Yeah, if you throw it off the wall and then someone catches it, not off a bounce, then you get an out.
Yeah.
Now I don't know. I mean, I played like 3 or 4 outs or whatever.
Yeah. Because we used to call it. I think we used to either call it Spit or Spud. One of those two.
Yeah, maybe Spud, and then you get a letter.
Yeah.
Every time you get out. Yeah. The other game I was thinking of that I don't know how you can make rules for it, but and there's not really like a name for it, but like keep it up. Like you have like a balloon.
Yeah.
And you just keep on knocking it up, like something that was like mid-pandemic. I went to my parents' house and we just like played keep it up. Like we all sat on the couch and hit a balloon, and we were like, "Wow, we're in a bad place."
Hey, I think that sounds kind of fun and cute.
Nikki, do you want to tell yours?
Sure. I have to think of one first, to be honest. All right, I got one. So I was thinking, you know that like dots game where you have to like connect the dots? Like you usually would play it like at a restaurant. They would give you like a paper.
Oh, and like making
make
boxes.
The blocks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe I would try and figure out something like that, and I think that'd be a good way to like quickly kill people off.
Yeah, that would be brutal.
Getting trapped in life-size boxes.
You guys forgot the 2 best childhood games in the world, which are Capture the Flag and Foursquare.
Oh, damn, Alex, you're right. Those are the best.
I remembered Foursquare, but I honestly don't remember how to play, and I don't really remember playing too much. But that one is definitely a good Squid game. Capture the Flag would be a good. Well, I guess you need a fair amount of people for that to make it real fun. Yeah, that could be that could replace Tug of War.
My neighborhood was so open to letting like all the neighborhood kids just run through the other people's yards, like to the point we broke somebody's fence and we were like jumping it and climbing over it so much they just built us a gate. Like my neighborhood was pretty cool with that. I don't know. Like nowadays, like if I saw kids running through my yard, like I'd be cool, but I don't think like all the neighbors, like it just doesn't feel the same, you know? Even till the age we were like 18 and 19.
Right.
My childhood neighborhood was really fun, but then the neighbors across the street from us were very rude when we used to play basketball in the street, and they eventually called the cops on us when I was like in 8th grade
Oh
because
my
we were playing so much
God.
basketball.
Are you kidding me? Well, how does that disrupt them?
Bouncing ball apparently annoyed them.
You should have egged their house.
I don't know. I think they claimed the bouncing ball. The other thing, the legal part of it was that the basketball court used to be cemented into the ground and then face the street, so you'd play in the street, and that was fine. But we wanted to replace it because it was getting broken. I think because they did construction on their house, and when their construction trucks like hit it and like tilted it, so we replaced it with like a brand new one that you could adjust, and so we dug it out and placed it in. But that's technically illegal. You can't like put a forward-facing basketball hoop like in the ground facing the street and have people play in the street.
Oh my God.
So then we had to move the basketball court up the driveway. This is New Jersey 10 years ago, so things could be different in Pennsylvania now.
No, I've heard some stuff like that. It is like has weird laws around that.
But yeah, they called the cops on us, and then the next time that we tried playing, which we gave it like a week or two break, they pulled their car and they parked underneath the basketball hoop.
Are you freaking kidding me? And you guys didn't like mess with them at all?
Well, I mean, how could we mess with them? Like we felt like we were like in the wrong legally,
What?
technically, because of
Oh my God.
because of the basketball court thing. So so then after that, we had to move it up. And they were, I mean, yeah, I didn't know what could we possibly do. Honestly, it fragmented my relationships with people on the block because I would come outside and be like, "Hey, you guys, you can't play basketball on the court because our neighbors are complaining." And so they would get pissed off at me because I'm telling them they can't play basketball anymore.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I can't believe you didn't like throw dog shit on their porch or something.
Yeah, I guess that would have been. Should have had you there to.
Or just keep playing basketball with the car under the.
Yeah, well, see, then we were gonna like we would obviously damage the car, and then they win, and we had to pay them money. Like,
Oh yeah, true.
if we caused damage with dog poop or something, then it would eventually turn into like you owe us compensation. Well, so this all came to a head, and I wasn't even there. I was working at scout camp at the time, and my grandfather passed away, and so I came home for his wake and funeral and everything. And so after the funeral, I got driven back to camp, but everyone else, or like a bunch of my family, went back to my parents' house, and they were playing basketball because my grandpa was really good at basketball. He was a high school. He was like published in the paper for making a last minute half court shot. So in his memory, they decided to play basketball, and our whole family loves basketball. So they were doing that, and then the neighbors came and they were pulling their trick about pulling the car underneath the basketball court or something like that, or they're going to park in a way that they couldn't play anymore. And so my dad like went up to the guy in the car and was like, "Hey man, can you just for today, just let us play some basketball? Like I had to bury my dad today, so we're just trying to, keep it light or whatever, play a game." And the guy goes, "I don't give a shit about your father. I am done with this basketball."
What
And
the hell?
and so like my whole family was like, "What is going on?" And so I don't know what happened in between, but my like family left except for my dad, and because he wanted to talk to him after he moved the car into the driveway, and his wife came out.
So he did move the car?
Yeah, he moved the car, but he said, or something. They did, but it ended the game. The game was over. Like it was a scene. And so the neighbor's wife came out, and she started like going off my dad, like just yelling at him, like, "Oh, big strong guy, like you're going to intimidate us, like
What the
like
hell?
you want to play some basketball, like but like or whatever." Like she was just like trying to get under his skin, and then the guy was like, "Go ahead, hit her." I know you want to. The snare. And my dad was like, I'm like, obviously not going to hit his wife. Like, but yeah, he just like stood up tall and like crossed his arms and like walked closer to them and just was like in church this Sunday. I'm gonna pray for
What
you
are
guys.
these people's vibe? Are they like Karens, basically?
I mean, they're like a little bit older than my parents. They had, what's funny is they had children too, and they're probably like 10 years older than me, maybe like 8. And one of them was a guidance counselor at the high school. So she would like leave in the morning when I was walking to school, and she'd be like, and I'd be like, go piss off, like I hate your family.
This is so frustrating. I want to go and like torture them in some really passive aggressive way now.
We can go there for mischief night this year.
Ho ho ho! What's the address? Give me the address.
I was thinking like we should like buy 10 basketballs, invite people over, and just bounce them in my driveway. But I remember talking to my mom, and I was like, if I ever win the lottery, I'm gonna buy their house, and then I'm gonna pave it over, and I'm gonna make basketball courts.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
But then my mom was like, no. She's like, that's not a good idea. Like, because you buy their house, they're gone. You buy my house, you knock down our house, pave it over, and then make basketball courts. That way, they can't escape. Like they're there. They have to sell their house and go through the ordeal.
Or you buy every house around their perimeter, and it'll make them all basketball courts.
Yes, that's the problem. Yeah, buy the 5-house radius around them.
What a loser. Well, and then have you guys played Thunder?
That's a drinking game, Chris.
Well, no, the basketball variant. So
what's
thunder? You drink every time you hear thunder, or you keep drinking until the next person.
Yeah. Well, actually, it's funny you mentioned that, Dev, because we were playing some volleyball recently, and one of the guys, I was playing music, and one of the guys heard Thunderstruck come on. He was like, "Oh, dude, like time to drink or whatever." And I was like, "I mean, I've also played the game, but it's funny that like that's that's what people think of the moment they hear the song."
Yeah, my cousin on vacation, she like replayed it 3 times in a row and like made people play in the hot tub. And like I put on a different song, and she's like, "This isn't Thunder." And I was like, "Yeah, I know, we're done with it." We put on Roxanne by the Police because we were like, "Yeah, let's just try it. Just drink." So every time they say Roxanne, like do the same thing with Thunder, just with Roxanne. And she was like, "It wasn't as good." I'm like, "Yeah, it wasn't as good." But after hearing Thunder 3 times in a row, I just wanted a different song.
My trainer made us do Roxanne with burpees.
Oh man,
it's funny. Fran was a gymnastics instructor, and she made her students do something like that with Roxanne. That's what made me think of it.
I remember Roxanne just always makes me think about the scene from Community. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but like the 6 different timelines.
Yeah. Community is so good. Oh yeah, the 6 different timelines. Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah, because Britta's always trying to sing it, and Jeff's just like, no.
Oh my God, Community is so good.
Yeah, that's a fantastic show. We could probably have a whole episode just discussing Community. There's so many.
Yeah, I'll finish. I'm like 3 seasons in. I'll do my homework.
I haven't finished it, but I like it.
Oh wait, Devin, so you haven't seen that episode, right?
I don't think so. Yeah, I didn't know what you guys are talking about.
Okay, yeah, if you get a chance. I mean, obviously there's not a huge plot to Community. It's more like just your standard sitcom. But yeah, that's just. I think that was like the episode that like they really got a lot of credit for. Like I think they won some kind of TV or movie award or whatever for that episode. So if you get a chance, definitely worth the watch.
Okay.
Guys, I got big news.
Uh-oh.
I'm officially 29.
Let's go.
Yeah.
I know. Thank you. My body hurts. 29 going on 89.
Last year, your 20s.
Ew, don't say that.
Did you do anything special?
Kevin made me a tiramisu, and my mom sent me a card with money, both my parents. And it was pretty chill, 29. What's your favorite desserts?
I think I reserve the right to change this moving forward, but the first thing that came to mind was bread pudding, which some are really good, some are less good. It's not like a standard thing though.
I would say like cake, probably like a chocolate, like a vanilla cake with chocolate icing.
If I had to pick, I think I'm definitely more of a pie person over cake. If I had to like take one or the other.
Me too.
Yeah, no, I would lean cake over pies.
I don't know if my memory is correct, but I think I won a pie eating contest in like 5th grade.
Like he's like, it might have happened. I might never have had pie before in my life. You know, it could really be anywhere in between.
I don't know if like I thought I won or I won, but like everyone on the stage, because this was at like a fair, everyone on the stage had to eat a cherry pie the fastest they could, and I just like hounded it. And I remember everyone was really surprised like how far I got. Like it was legit, like you can't use your hands, you have to put your face into the pie and eat out of like the dish on stage.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd like be able to do that. I feel like I'd just be like, this is a lot.
You probably like ate it so fast that like you choked on a piece, and then like you blacked out, and then you came to in a hospital, and you're like, "Did I win?" And they're like, "There was no contest. What are you talking about?"
Nikki, it was your birthday and they made you a pie instead of eating it like a normal person. You just slammed your face into it.
And you're like, no, I won. I swear I won. And they're like, there was no winners. There was no one there. There was no state fair, Nikki.
I love doing country shit.
All right, Squid Games.
All right,
All right. I have two topics I want to discuss. First one, I think we should do it in this order. So the first one, Nikki, I'd like to ask you. You're 4 episodes in right now. Have you been watching with the English dubbed version, or have you been using the subtitles?
Okay. I didn't even know there's a non-English dubbed version.
So there is a version where they're doing the native Korean and they have subtitles, which is obviously the original because it was made in South Korea. Yeah. I too also watched it with the English dubbed over. Shabla and I talked about this. This was the regular feature for me. Like when I turned on Squid Games,
me too.
It automatically had the English dub. But I feel like Fry and Chris feel a little bit differently. I want to hear their perspectives.
I watched it in Korean just because that was the original, and then with English subtitles. And part of what I was saying I thought was interesting, which you wouldn't have gotten if you watched it just fully dubbed, is there actually is English speaking in the Korean version by some of the characters and at different points in the story. And I feel like, not that like that's solely a good enough reason to watch it, but I did feel that added a level of depth to it that you'd have missed otherwise, obviously.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's a no-brainer. You got to go with the Korean with the English subtitles.
My issue with that is when I'm reading subtitles, I just focus on reading. I don't watch.
Yeah, and I think that's a fair point. What made me think of this too, have you guys seen Princess Mononoke before? Studio Ghibli film.
I'm embarrassed to say I've only seen half. I was really enjoying it, and it was on a night that we started it late, and I fell asleep. I've been meaning to finish that movie.
Yeah, it's probably like my favorite film from Studio Ghibli, and probably my favorite film that was originally in a different language and then dubbed to English. Because I don't really have many that come to mind besides that. But the creator of, well, first of all, I think the person who translated it from Japanese to English to create the scripts did a really good job. Because there's some things that just don't translate quite right if you do it word for word. And so I think there was care taken for that. And then they got some pretty good voice acting as well, which usually is like the big knock, is that it's not quite translated right and the voice acting is awful. And so I think if those two things are true, like both of those are bad, then like, yeah, I mean, then there's a much stronger case to go subs. But I think the creator of the film, of Princess Mononoke said that they, or even the studio, released the thing saying that if you're an English speaker or French or whatever, watch it in your native language first, because they put such time and attention and detail into the artwork, into the scenery, and so they want you to fully enjoy the animation, or like the medium that you're experiencing it in first, and then if you go ahead and rewatch it, then you can get the direction from like the voice acting
Yeah,
the second time through.
I've definitely also heard people say that they thought Princess Mononoke was very well done in terms of a dub. Devin, I know in general people hate on dubs. I honestly, personally, the main reason that I watched Squid Game in the Korean was just because I guess this is largely due to just my ex-girlfriend's family always watch things in subs, or with subtitles in general. So I got used to watching things with subtitles, and the problem is if you have subtitles on and the dub, like literally the words that they're saying in the dub don't match what is being like subtitled, that really grinds my gears. So I was like, I'm just going to watch it with a different language so that that's not a possibility, because anything that's translated, usually the subs don't line up with the voices in what I've seen.
Yeah, that would really throw me off too.
I thought it was interesting in general because I was like, I mean, Devin and I are technically on different sides of this. You were pro dub, I'm pro sub, but in general, I agree with you. I think dubs are usually fine. I just prefer it, and like particularly with the Netflix shows like Money Heist as well. It just like bothered me watching. Like, I don't really mind if it's animated already. I don't expect like perfect sync up on voices to faces and things like that. But like, I feel like it's really tough when you're literally watching something that was created in another language with like humans to not notice essentially that the mouths never really make sense because it's literally a different language. But
yeah, it's totally a personal preference thing, because for me, I could go either way, like watching the subtitles or the dubs, but I usually lean dubs, whereas Courtney would always definitely want it dubbed, because she would rather like be able to look at her phone a little bit and like do something else and be able to listen to it. She's probably more auditory than me, where I'm very visual.
yeah, I hear that.
But yeah, so I also think that like in Squid Games, it's pretty visual. Like a lot of symbolism and like different symbols, and even like the pure violence aspect at times, I think is all very visual, and I'd rather experience that or try and catch like the little hidden meanings and Easter eggs than to try and read the subtitles and enjoy the acting for what it is.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up earlier. The one thing I will say in regards to like not wanting to miss the visuals is I think that the nice thing about subtitles is that like in the moments where there's a lot of action, there's usually not a lot of dialogue, so it kind of lets you shift your focus. And if there is dialogue, it's usually like kind of, I mean, this is like obviously a bit of a generalization, but I feel like there's usually like a decent bit of chaos going on in some sense. And I feel like having to occasionally look down to see what's actually being said almost heightens that level of chaos. And it also like helps, I think, with immersion in the moments where it is just dialogue. Because personally, as you were saying, I think I'm a little too visual. So if I'm just looking at people talking, I zone out a little bit, where if like I have to read it, I don't zone out as much. And then obviously like in the action scenes, I'm still pretty present. So I feel like that kind of can help me. Once again, I like both decently. I'm not like a super anti-dub or anything, but
yeah, they just want to get it out to the masses.
Yeah, I
Right.
think that they would be helping like Korean cinema more if they did the subtitled version as the main thing, because like movies like Parasite and stuff, like the barrier to entry is that people don't want to watch with subtitles.
Dude, Parasite was so freaking boring. I thought it was like a big letdown.
I haven't watched it, but personally, I appreciate usually the movies that win like Academy Awards and stuff like that, but the problem is like appreciation and enjoyment are not usually synonymous for me, and I don't
Yes.
usually like appreciation enough to make it worth watching a lot of the movies that are like Academy Awards and stuff.
Yeah, why the heck is that? Why are the winners boring?
Yeah, I think it's just because like I don't know. I feel like enjoyment is not like they're not going to be like, bro, Transformers 3 like obviously deserves an award. It's like, well,
Why not?
it's visually very interesting, and like yeah, like the complaints about it, like the plot sucks and this and that, and it's like, I mean, first of all, I don't think this is like the most incredible movie of all time, but the point is like visually pretty entertaining, like decent watch, whatever, and like something like that would never win in terms of like I don't think like movies the Academy I don't think cares about like CGI and like I don't know, like putting together a visually interesting watch. It's more about like other stuff. Like I remember watching Dallas Buyers Club, and like I got to the end of that and I was like, wow, like I am worn out. That was a watch. But like I don't know if I'd say I enjoyed it, but I was like, I appreciate what they did. That was whew.
Kind of what you guys are talking about kind of reminds me of like when I watched Schindler's List and Roma, like both
Yeah.
very sad kind of like longer movies. Like I'm not saying they're bad movies by any stretch, and I can appreciate them, but they're not a movie that I'm gonna be like, let's throw that one on. Like,
yeah, we joked about that for a while. We're like, so Schindler's List tonight, guys? Who's down? Like everybody's like, no. It's not like a casual rewatch kind of flick.
The thing about like a Transformers 3 or even like an Endgame, which I heard the reviews are very good. I haven't seen it yet. I'm not.
I like Endgame. What?
I haven't seen Endgame. I haven't seen Age of Ultron or any of the Avengers movies. I've seen the first one actually. I'm like way behind.
Was really good.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. It's one of those things that like people always have something to complain about. I mean, well, we can use Star Wars as an example. Like I was not a big fan. Well, you're hurting me.
Never saw it.
Well, just the way that Shabo freaked out about me not seeing Endgame that came out like 3 years ago, but you haven't seen a Star Wars. and he's silent. I know where my friends lie now.
Listen, I mean, I guess I probably have talked to you about this before. I think this came up at some point. But like Endgame and Age of Ultron, I literally just pulled it up, and the most expensive productions, unadjusted for inflation of all time, I think even adjusted for inflation, Age of Ultron is 2 and Endgame is 3. Ironically, the first movie I bet none of us have seen, but I've been meaning to watch it just because I'm curious why it costs so much money to make. But I don't know. I think they were visually very appealing, and just the amount of effort that went into the films. Like, I feel like if nothing else, that's worth appreciating. I do also like Marvel flicks, so like it works for me.
Yeah, the path I was going down was in a movie like a big budget movie with like effects and stuff, like the most recent Star Wars, or like an Endgame, or I forget, or a Transformers 3. Is that like you can go into the movie theater, watch the movie, and be like, it kind of sucked. It was like I'll give it a D or whatever. But like, if just think about like 2 generations back, like your great grandfather would have sold his soul to watch this movie like in the theater, like with these crazy effects. Like he would have wept to have seen this. But like, I don't know, I'll give it a B.
Okay, when you guys were saying Endgame, I didn't realize you're talking about an Avengers movie. I thought we were talking about like Game Over or Game Over Man. Like,
what is that?
Never mind. It's one with workaholics people.
Oh, that one, the Netflix movie they made.
Yeah.
I've
never seen Endgame either, so I've never seen any of the Avengers.
Wait, Chris, what was number 1 on that list?
It's funny you ask, Alex. I was wondering if like anyone listening to this or in general was going to be like, yeah, but what is number 1? So number 1, which once again, I've not seen. I'm shocked that I feel like I've seen most of the other installments of this series, but it's Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides.
Oh, yeah.
What number Pirates is that?
I think it's the 4th one. Yeah, it's the 4th installment in the series.
Like if you look at like the top, like we just pulled up the list of like all the highest grossing movies. Like when you look at it, like how many are standalone films that don't have any sequels or spinoffs? You got Titanic. You can go down the list. Tell me when you see the next one.
You haven't seen the sequel to Titanic?
Titanic 2.
By Bannock.
We built the ship again. Good luck.
Like Avatar is going to have a sequel. Avengers, Marvel, Star Wars sequel. Avengers, Jurassic World, Jurassic Park. The Lion King came out with a live action. The Avengers, Furious 7. The fact that there's 7.
That's the first one, dude.
Frozen 2, Avengers, Black Panther, again, Marvel. Harry Potter, Deathly Hallows Part 2. Star Wars, The Last Jedi, Jurassic World,
Deathly
Fallen
Hallows
Kingdom.
Part 2, that's the last
one. Frozen is the first one that isn't a sequel, and it has one. Incredibles 2, The Fate of the Furious, Iron Man 3, Minions, the spinoff, Captain America, Aquaman is You could argue maybe, but it's a DC comic. Like it's just a spin-off of another comic.
Most of these are also in the last 10 years, like after, or at least 20, like last 2000s. Whereas like the fact that like, Titanic was outside of that. And then, I mean, my point is just, it seems like movies in general are like way more popular in the last 10 years or so, in terms of how much money they can bring in.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening to Two Socks Podcast. You can go ahead and follow us on Instagram at Two Socks Podcast, all one word. We're going to be posting some polls and some other Q&A type questions so you can get involved in the podcast. Hope you all enjoyed it.
Woo!